anything you would like to add to the conversation?
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be running through a bit of a fun subject. I think we have 10 points to cover, and as you've seen by the title of the video and by the thumbnail, we're going to run through 10 normal everyday household items or features of a British home that us, as Brits living in Australia, have realised aren't too common in Australia. And if you're new around here, please be sure to subscribe. It means a lot to us, and I just want to say a big shout out to everybody who did support us on the last video, which was the launch of our brand new merch line. Thank you so much to everybody who just left a beautiful comment, entered the giveaway in the last video. If you've not done, go and check that out after this one. But also to everybody who's took the time to purchase or just left us a message, a DM. It's been amazing seeing the support on that video. So thank you very much. We're very, very excited to get going with it. But more than anything, seeing you guys get your shirts delivered and having them on is going to be insane. If we get any pictures through of people wearing them, we'll be sure to share them out or get them on the channel. So please be sure to do that if you can. Now, getting back to the main purpose of today's video, we're going to be running through differences between a UK home and an Australian home that we've noticed. Now, we do live on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, so some of these points may be in other areas. Maybe you live in Perth, maybe you live in, I don't know, like Canberra or Tasmania even. Some of these features that we mention might not be relevant to Queensland or subtropic or tropical homes, kind of where we live at currently, but they may be featured in yours. So let us know in the comment section if we've got anything maybe a bit confused. I have tried to do my research and specifically say if ones are relevant just to a Queensland or a tropical or subtropical climate. So I tried my best, guys, but please understand not all of these represent every house in Australia, as that's quite hard. It's just more of a general overview of certain homes.
And so we'll stop the rambling and get into point number one, which is what we would call a combi boiler or a combination boiler, which is what supplies the heating in a house in the UK. So it's very common to find these boilers in a boiler room in the UK, which seems quite alien now to think that we've not seen one for all this time. But believe it or not, in our little terrace house in the UK, we actually had ours in a cupboard in the kitchen. So that's very common, or the bathroom. Yeah. But I know there's a lot of people that have a 2 up, 2 down, and there'd be a room at the top of the stairs and you'd open it and it's just like a door that like you can't walk in it. It's just basically like a cupboard. And yeah, the boiler would be in there. And these boilers are really expensive. When they break, like you need boiler insurance because they are so expensive. It's mental. And of course, it costs a lot to run. So in the UK, it's a common issue that especially in the winter months when you need to put your heating on quite a lot, it does get very costly to use the gas boiler. And so from what we researched, these are not common in Australia. I'm guessing in the southern states like South Australia, Tasmania, maybe you guys do have them. Please do let us know in the comments, as we have spoken to some Australian friends who have said, nah, they're not really that common, but we'd love to know if they actually are in certain spots.
Point number 2 onto the list is letterboxes in the actual front door itself. In Australia, from what we've experienced and what we've seen, we've been over to Western Australia, been all the way up to Cairns. 2 years ago, we did Sydney. It isn't common from what I remember or what I perceive to remember to see a letterbox in a front door. So I'll be showing up some images on screen now. In the UK, especially in the terrace homes and the small homes, you would get a letterbox directly through your front door that you could post letters through. If the postman or postie would come to your house, he would literally post the letter right through your front door. Now, this makes sense for a lot of places like our home, terrace home in the UK, with no front garden, and bam, as soon as you open your front door, you were straight onto the main street, onto the pavement. We sometimes had cyclists come past and nearly take us out. So yeah, that makes sense for a lot of homes that don't have space for a mailbox. In Australia, a lot of places would have what I think is called a mailbox at the end of their drives. Now, speaking to you guys in the comment section, you guys have let us know that in more of the city spots like Melbourne and Sydney, there are terrace homes. So we need to know, guys, are these places also equipped with letterboxes in the door? Because from what I've seen in Australia, it's nowhere near as common as it is in the UK. Pretty much every home would have one, unless you live on a big estate, maybe.
And speaking on that point about something that might come through the letterbox is a TV licence.
Yeah.
Now, This would more be like a TV license letter if you're not paying your TV license. So basically, in the UK, if you have a TV, you need a TV license. Believe it or not, I don't think this is something that you have in Australia, which is completely different. And these authorities will send a letter through your letterbox, even if you have a TV license, to make sure that you've got your TV license and you're paying for it. But it was funny when we was at university, because we lived in like a student accommodation building, and we'd have them like banging on the front of the building because none of the students had paid it, and they put the threatening letter through everyone's individual postie box. And it's just a crazy scenario, and it's quite expensive as well, actually. So yeah, that's a bit of a crazy scenario and not something that you get in Australia, as far as I'm aware. So the TV license publicly funds like the BBC. I think BBC might be your equivalent to the ABC News. I'm unsure. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, so it's basically we pay to watch the BBC.
Point number 4 is converted attics and cellars in home. So for this one, we actually got in touch with a friend who has a son down in Sydney who is a builder and contractor, and asked them, is it common for homes across Australia, in Sydney as well, not just here, we tried to do our research, for them to have converted attics or cellars as maybe even a living place? Or in the UK, it wouldn't be uncommon to go to a friend's house growing up and their room was the converted attic, upstairs and upstairs. So the home becomes like a 3-story home. And then even back down underground to a converted cellar. So I think 3 of the homes that I've lived in back in the UK have had converted cellars, which would work as a storage space. But they're usually quite damp when they're underground if they're not professionally kind of, structured or quite old. But from what I understand, a lot of homes in Australia don't really have that. Now, I'm not too sure on why, or whether this is just a cultural thing. Maybe some places do have it. Maybe some of the older colonial structured buildings might have them. But from what I understand, a lot of homes tend to be quite spread out and have a single story structure to them, rather than trying to build up and convert the space that they have like an attic. Let us know, do you know many people with a converted attic or cellar? This one was quite hard to do some research on, but like I said, I tried speaking to a few friends to get a bit more of a general overview. But is this common? From what we understand and what we know, not too much.
And so the next point is about washing machines in Australia not being in the kitchen, whereas in the UK they are in the kitchen. They tend to always be in the kitchen. It's uncommon to have a utility room, where in Australia I would say it is common to have a utility room, and I'm guessing this is more down to a spacing. So maybe where space isn't vast, say for example in the cities, in apartments where there's not a lot of space, so your washing machines are in the kitchen. But in the UK, even if you're in say a semi-detached or even a detached house, doesn't necessarily matter how big the house is, you'd still tend to see the washing machine in the kitchen. Which, yeah, for Australians, as far as I'm aware, is very unusual. Being a Brit, or a POM, should I say, seeing a washing machine outside, because this is a common thing in Australia, that you'll have your kind of laundry outside. Like where we currently live, we have got a washing machine and a dryer outside now. Literally, like when my mum came over, she was like, wow, that's a bit weird, isn't it? Like, it just wouldn't happen in the UK. It is quite funny. Like, if your laundry's not inside, then it's going to get very damp and wet. So, but again, maybe down south, it's different. Maybe, let us know. Do you have your laundry outside in South Australia, Adelaide, Melbourne? Let us know.
Next, we move on to point number 6, and that is separate water taps for hot and cold. So if you were to go to a sink basin, or if you were to go into the kitchen, or maybe if you have a bath, the idea of 2 separate taps, a hot and a cold tap, not a tap that switches from hot to cold, is more common, I would say, in the UK than here. From the research that we looked into, this is a thing in Australia. Some houses do have them, but they tend to be more the older build homes. Now, in the UK, this is probably just as common with people upgrading their homes, getting a renovation to a certain room. They probably will be converting more to a single tap. But just as a general rule of thumb, you do see more separate taps in public places or in people's homes than you do here. And it's funny because it took us like 8 months to realise it. After living here, I don't know what spurred it on, but I was just thinking to myself, and I turned to Cody and I was like, I've not seen separate taps for a while. Now, again, where we live in Queensland on the Sunshine Coast is more of a newer build area. A lot of the houses are more newer than maybe in some older buildings down south. Linking to places maybe down south in Australia from where we are in New South Wales, or in southern Australia, Melbourne, your Sydneys. These places may have older buildings that have these separate taps. But it is just a funny thing that after 8 months of living here, I was like, Wait a minute, I haven't seen separate taps for a while. I always remember growing up in the UK, one having a bath. You know, you would maybe like be in the bath, splashing about with your toys, and the hot tap would be running and you'd slightly kind of roll into and then burn your back on the back of it. So yeah, having those separate cold and hot taps would always make you usher to one side of the bath. Let us know. I'm guessing a lot of people maybe in Australia, in these places, in older builds, would have grown up with that same experience of burning yourself on the hot tap, but then trying to get under the cold tap to cool off. I don't know, silly things, but yeah, not as commonly seen here as I think it is still in the UK.
Anything you would like to add to the conversation?
Anything you want to say?
Okay, anything else you would like to add?
All right, and the next point on the list is the idea that your house would be carpeted all the way through. Now, this tends to be, even in both Australia and the UK, more of an older house thing. So if you went into, say, you know, more of an elderly person's house that's had it that way for quite some time. However, it is definitely still more common in the UK to see a house that's carpeted all the way through. And even more so, even in the bathrooms and the kitchen. Now, it's one thing in the bathroom being carpeted. Oh, I can't even think of the bacteria and blah, blah. But the kitchen, like, how weird is that? Like, to be honest, it is definitely a lot more of a tiled space in Australia, mainly because of the heat. It's the same if you go to, like, say, Spain. That's the only real thing we could relate to in that sense. We know in about tiled areas. If you're from the UK, you spend a lot of time / like holidays in Spain. So we've kind of know Spain as like the tiled space. But yeah, carpet seems crazy, but I guess it'd be a heat thing as well. Trying to, you know, the tiled floor when it's really cold in the winter isn't ideal, and it isn't something that people tend to want to go for, which does make sense. Maybe in Tasmania that you would have carpet throughout the house, even in the bathrooms and the kitchens. Let us know if you do. I'd love to see that, honestly.
Point number 8 is double glazed windows. Now, again, I believe this is more of a Queensland-based thing, or maybe more of your northern places in Australia. But guys down in Sydney, guys down in Tasmania, again, please let me know in the comments section if this is the same for you guys. It's kind of a R&D, a research and development structure for me, this video. But yeah, double glazed windows are very, very common in the UK, especially in people when they're building newer houses or getting renovations. Now, a lot of these structures and differences and discrepancies will be down to the idea that the British homes are trying to keep the heat in, whereas Australian homes are trying to keep the airflow through. From the research that I did, a lot of homes in Australia, because the winters are much more of a shorter period of time than they are in the UK, that long drawn out period, from your autumn months, even sometimes you can get snowfall where we live in the UK in mid-spring. So it's not uncommon around my birthday in May, although that is a spring month, to sometimes get snowfall in certain areas. Whereas in Australia, from what I understand, even in these southern spots like Sydney, again, to keep mentioning it, their winters are a lot shorter of a period. So to have these kind of features in a home, it would basically be pointless for the majority of the year, from what I could see researching.
All right, so this next point is about curtains. What we've seen from where we are, especially in Queensland, we've noticed that in the UK, everybody has curtains, right? Every house has curtains. Where here in Australia, we've noticed that they're definitely not as common. Now, I'm guessing in other places in Australia, like again, down south, it might be more common to have curtains. But honestly, from everyone we know and houses that we see up here, it's never really curtains. It's always blinds. We see like Venetian blinds or drawer blinds, they're very common, but yeah, never like curtains, really.
And now we come to the final point, point number 10 on the list, which is wall-mounted radiators throughout the home. Now in the UK, these are commonplace. These are all over your home, from upstairs, downstairs, in the kitchen, in the bathroom. You would have, I think in our home in the UK, we had one at the bottom of the stairs, one in the living room, one in the kitchen, one in our bedroom, one in the back room, one in the bathroom, and that's a very small home. But still, you would have them throughout the house, and they would be connected on a water system to your boiler. And when you turn your boiler on, the water would shoot through your house, from my understanding. I don't know the inner workings, I'm no plumber. But the water would go throughout the home and make its way through the water system, through these radiators, and warm up your house. Now, from what I know, they aren't the most energy efficient, but I think the idea is that the houses are so insulated in the UK that they hold in the heat, or try to, as much as they can. Now for us, this was one of the big ones when we moved to Queensland and we recognised, where are the radiators? They don't exist. Now, a lot of places in Australia would tend to have an aircon unit that in the colder months you can run hot air through. So maybe that is the alternative switch here in Queensland. But again, let us know. These would be commonplace. These would be everywhere. Again, When I was growing up, I had a bed and the radiator was next to the bed. Probably a fire hazard, or I don't know whether it would be a fire hazard. But these radiators would get particularly hot and it was next to my bed, and sometimes you would turn over, it's just like catch your elbow on the side of like the radiator, or maybe you're in your room and you lean back on it and it scalds you. Pretty hazardous thing really for around the house, and kids are told to kind of beware of them, stay away from them, but they are very commonplace. So again, guys down south, let us know, do you have radiators throughout your home like these that we've shown in this video? Because we haven't really experienced them in Queensland.
And so that has been our 10 points for this video today. We do hope that you have enjoyed it, and I hope it's not caused too much controversy. Do let us know if you agree or disagree with any of those points, or maybe there's some other ones that you can think of that we haven't added to this list. I think we'd love to do the reverse on this video and see what houses have in Australia that Brits don't have. I think there'd be a lot more points. So do give this video a like if you would love to see. And we just want to say that we hope that you have enjoyed today's video. It's always nice to do a sit down talking one to you guys, as well as our adventurous videos. We have been a little bit manic with all your orders and everything going on with the merch. It's been really busy, so it is nice to do a sit down talking video, but who knows what we will be doing in the next one. So always stay around, because we always keep you on your toes. Do be sure to like, subscribe and all that goodness. It really does mean a lot. And of course, you members, honestly, we say it every episode, but we really do mean it. You guys are wonderful, and thank you for supporting our membership program. It's a buy us a coffee program that we have, and it's one of our OG programs. It's just where you can show your support for small content creators like ourselves. But yeah, we just want to thank you for being part of this ever-growing community.
Just a quick one to mention before we jump off. Thank you so much for 14,000 subscribers. Nearly forgot it. I nearly just forgot as you were speaking then. 14,000 subscribers is absolutely mental. So to anybody who's new or old, thank you so much for all the support. Let's keep on going. Let's see what we can create. It has been so fun on this channel, building up over this about last year and 4 or 5 months. It's been incredible, but what the future holds could be very exciting as well. So come along with us, enjoy the Venture Club, and let's see where we get to. Thank you very much for watching.
Bye!
Adios.
Adios!